TIFU by helping my wife breastfeed our newborn. I was tidying up our back porch and noticed I hadn't yet put anything in one of our planters. I remembered some assorted dried pepper seeds I had in the kitchen cupboard. The thing is, I couldn't remember what pepper was what now that they were all dried up. So I grabbed a yellow one and a red one. I tore them open, planted them, and went inside, no problem. Now our newborn is feeding every hour, so my wife has to use a zucchini shield. It's a piece of silicone with holes in it that extends the zucchini and protects the zucchini from getting too raw. I heard the baby's timely cry, so like clockwork, I grabbed the coconut shield, washed it, and placed it on my wife's coconut for her so she could feed the baby without having to get up. I am the worst dad ever, little did I know. But some of the pepper oil that got on my hands, I didn't know dried peppers could still have oil in them, got on the butternut shield. Our baby started to wail and nothing could make him stop. We couldn't figure out what was wrong until my mouth began to burn. I guess I had also gotten my fingers near my mouth. So I full on stuck my fingers in my mouth to determine what kind of pepper. Judging by the heat in my own mouth and knowledge of the peppers I had dried, I had planted a Carolina Reaper. My tender little boy cried bloody murder for at least 2.5 hours straight, and we did everything we could think of / find on the internet to stop the burning. Luckily, from what we can tell, not very much got on the butternut shield and the pepper wasn't to its full potency, or things could have been much worse. Now I feel like I should never touch my child again. This whole fatherhood thing is not off to a great start. TL Drive. Touched some dried Carolina Reaper seeds. Then touched my wife's coconut shield that goes in baby's mouth. Baby cried horribly for 2.5 hours straight. I'm the worst dad ever. Edit. I did wash my hands after, but I used hand soap instead of dish soap. Even with dish soap, it didn't come off. The pepper oil finally came off after I poured 91% rubbing alcohol on my hands. Edit 2. He wouldn't latch to drink milk because he was crying so hard, so I eventually got a bottle of pumped milk and put some of it around and in his mouth. Edit 3. Baby is okay. He's still feeding normally and acts as if nothing happened. But we all know the truth. We know. Working up the baby's tolerance to spice. Banana happens. Now you know. Won't do that again. My 10-year-old loves to hear stories about what a terrible mother I was when he was a baby. If your family is anything like mine, this will become a classic. Hang in there, you're doing fine. But one time I rubbed ghost pepper on my eye and turned out fine. It just hurt like hell for a while. After the burning, your baby should be alright. I cut habaneros for dinner and then put contacts in the next morning, figuring that 11ish hours and a shower was enough. Prying my eye open enough to remove the contacts was not easy. I was late to work that morning. Dang. Don't worry, it's just bad luck. It's not like you purposefully fed the baby a pepper. If he quit crying and he isn't exhibiting any symptoms, he is probably okay. I'd check with the family doctor soon just in case. Just make sure you are extra cautious in the future, and I'm sure everything will be fine. Smile. I'm sure you're doing great at being a dad. That's the thing they tell you about being a dad, but you don't really understand it until you experience it. There are things, like pain, that you wish you could take over for your kid, but you just can't. And you just feel so helpless because you've done everything you can do. If it's any consolation, this probably won't be in his long-term memory, so he can't hold it over your head 10 years from now. Apart from that, at the very least, you tried to mitigate it. Everybody makes mistakes. The important thing is to learn from them so you don't douse your kid with a mouthful of fire ever again. Until their teenage years, maybe. Or to get him to give up his pacifier. TIFU by telling girl I had small butternut before I got anything. So it all started on a date to the movies at a pretty local area. Everything was going well. We made out in the theater, had some good laughs, enjoyed food, and genuinely had a good time. As good as a date to the movies could go. I could tell she liked me a lot cause she kept getting close to me and we had some pretty deep conversations for a first date. I'd been talking to the girl on the phone for about a week before, but she seemed to feel comfortable around me, so I was pretty happy to have someone who I could connect to. We made out a couple more times behind some buildings and on benches and stuff and kept talking, holding hands. Felt like we'd been dating for months, but it was still a first date. We met through some of our mutual friends that we originally went on the date with but separated after the movie. It was pretty dark and we were walking on a pretty unpopulated path behind the theater/mall. She took my hand to an alley/bushy area not visible to the main road. She looked at me in the eyes, kissed me and said, "Can I go down?" I said yes. But I'm not gonna lie, it's not that big, like at all. I know. I facepalmed instantly. She said, "Oh well, maybe it's not time then." She got back up and said sorry. I asked. I didn't say anything cause I was just freaking the zucchini out. The entire date from there was awkward and I could have easily just said no, it's fine, but I didn't. Today is a regretful day, ladies and gentlemen. Regretful day indeed. TL, doctor, was about to get head from a girl, told her my zucchini was smaller and she didn't really wanna do it anymore. Crying face. Edit, thanks everyone for all the hilarious comments and confidence advice. I didn't expect to blow up as now everyone knows I have a small banana, smiley face. Bad news, I texted her the next day and she hasn't responded yet. I hope we didn't lose her, disappointed face. Edit, this blew up even more. And I got some golden plaid. Love you all. A lot of people admitting they have small dicks, smiley face. Update, she did respond to my texts a day later saying she had fun but she wasn't sure if she was ready for a relationship. I think my mistake has caused a failed relationship. When we were on the date she was very happy and seemed like she wanted to go further too. F in the chat please, disappointed face. I once said prepare to be mildly disappointed. With finger guns. Don't regret it at all. So, no head? Something I learned, probably from here, is that you should never apologize for a small butternut, reaching climax early etc. It just makes the overall experience much more enjoyable for both parts and less awkward. I might be in the minority, but if a guy finishes too soon I always take it as a compliment. I think it's really cute when guys get embarrassed about it because it doesn't bother me at all. I agree with those saying she misunderstood and thought you were saying you couldn't get it up. But who uses big instead of hard? At least in English. No one ever said, "Ooh baby, you're making my zucchini so big. I'm so big for you right now." So much stuff like this happens because people assume the worst. It's a shame. As a woman, I think she misunderstood you. Ask her out again. The rest of your date was good. Also, don't comment on your banana size. Here's why. 1. In general, too big is more of an issue than small. 2. You are going to make a girl evaluate something she probably wouldn't have. 3. Size matters most if you don't know what you're doing. So, if you've got some good moves, know how to use your hands and tongue well to please a woman, you're set. R/bro girl. TIFU by misunderstanding a job proposal and quitting my current job as a permanent employee. So, this actually happened 2 days ago, and it's still developing. I am working at a company where I feel completely miserable, and that pays barely enough to pay rent and survive, and been here for 3 long years. Anxiety attacks, depression, and the complete lack of hope into having a life where I don't have to struggle and skip meals to be able to pay my bills started to accumulate and boosted me to start sending CVs everywhere. The thing was that no one was calling even after months and months of applications. The paranoia starts and I slowly start to convince myself that my portfolio sucks, that I'm horrible at what I do, that I'll be stuck in this job forever, etc. etc. A few months go by, and a friend of a friend knew what I did, and asked if I was interested in an interview at her company because they had a job position opening up. I say yes of course, send my CV and portfolio. They answer back saying they loved my work and want to meet me personally for an interview. The interview itself went perfectly. I never felt so comfortable talking to someone in English, not my native language, and neither the native language of the guy that interviews me, and in the end, the guy basically says, and I quote word by word, "For me, it's a yes, now it's up to you if you want to accept this position." Of course I said yes. The job seems amazing, the pay is more than double of what I am currently making, it was way closer to home, everything is perfect. Before saying goodbye, I asked him to send me by email the formal proposal just to be sure. He says, "Sure, I'll send it to you today or tomorrow," and I go back to work the next day, and here's the butternut up. I give the notice to my boss before receiving the proposal in fear of not be able to start when need, telling that I got an awesome job proposal, but that I need to start in less than a week and a half. Everything is being arranged where I work as I write this. I've handed my resignation letter, talked to the company owner and everything. What I did not consider is that I had to give at least 60 days of notice since I am a permanent employee, and while I'm writing this, the HR department is to call me and tell how they will settle this up. In other words, how much money am I going to have to pay or not make? The rest of the day of the interview goes by, and nothing on the proposal. The next day I email them, sending all my informations, and asking for the proposal, and they say that the dude that interviewed me is going to contact me. So today he messages me, "Hey man, told me that you are available at the combined date, but remember, we are still to make a decision. Did you tell your office that you are leaving?" And I say that yes, of course, I legally had to, especially to start the day that you mentioned. And he just responds with a no. I don't know if I misunderstood something he said, or if he forgot to say something to me, but he always seemed assertive that I was going to be hired, since they weren't really interviewing anyone. Also, take in consideration that the interview was really informal. I asked if they were they going to make the decision, and he said today, so I guess I'll update in a few hours if I'm unemployed and potently homeless, or if I got my dream job. TLDR, got ahead of myself, quit before getting an official job proposal, might be unemployed and homeless if everything goes bad. Edit, update in the comments. Check the labor laws where you live. A friend once had a stipulation in a contract that he wouldn't receive his last 2 weeks of pay if he didn't fulfill a 2 weeks notice. He didn't give notice at all, and the employer followed the contract and kept his last paycheck of over $3,000. Here in West Virginia, that is illegal, and he ended up getting double the money owed to him after filing a complaint. It corrected that it was his pay. I did this when a recruiter offered me a job before the company they recruited me for made a decision. Spoiler, they did not decide on me. I put notice in at my job after the recruiter called me to formally offer the position and I accepted. Got paperwork for the drug test and everything. A friend who was working at the new company I was going to be starting at heard I got the job and mentioned how excited he was to work with me to the hiring manager and team lead, who awkwardly told him that they hadn't made a decision on hiring anyone yet and had no idea what he was talking about. Friend reached out to me with that news, which caused me to call the recruiter back, who then panicked and sent me to talk to his boss. They tried pinning it all on me being an idiot, but thankfully I had cheesecake in writing. Ended up blowing a gasket on the phone and having to slink back to my boss and the CFO of my current company to ask for my job back, after having played hardball with them the week previous trying to get leverage with the new job offer. Cheesecake was orc. I don't know what country you're in, but if it's the USA, you don't have to give 60 days notice no matter what they tell you. It's just a common courtesy. It's not a law. So yeah, you could have just held out for the offer letter before you said anything to your current job. But look at it this way, you were miserable there. No matter what, you're leaving. So now you have to make a decision that forces you to do something else day to day, and you don't have to do that stressful job you hate anymore. You've taken the first step at changing your life. It was clumsy and it may end messily, but hey, you did it. I've never heard of 60 days notice. But you don't have to give notice at all. You could just get up and go at 11:34 a.m. without saying a word to anyone, never to be seen again. Update US, op. So, apparently, I got a response from the guy, and everything is okay, and I will start at the agreed day. But no proposal yet, which leaves me only 50% less stressed.